the whole Bachelor fandom, Bachelor Nation is very divided right now. A lot of people are on Greg's side. A lot of people are against Greg and on Katie's side. A lot of people feel like Greg was misunderstood. There's a lot of miscommunication, which I think there was a little bit of miscommunication. And a lot of people feel like he was gaslighting and very narcissistic, which I agree with on my second watch. But watching it, I was like, what the fuck happened? Like, what happened? Like, why is all of a sudden is he freaking out? And like, I don't know. And even Katie was like, I don't know what happened. Like,
I know.
Oh, I know now.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, no, well, I mean, just like...
But watching it, I was like, where did this come from? Like, how did we get here?
That's what I'm saying. I know, like, for him, like, it all started when he saw them on their date and heard them on their date. That's where it all started. It was like it plants us in
when he realized that he wasn't number one.
Yeah, and how could in that thought comes in, which is natural for anyone to have. How can they care about them on the same level they care about me? Like
yes.
She tells me that she really cares about me. She can see a future. How can you see a future with me and someone else?
Which I understand that. Yeah,
that's understandable. That's where it all started, and then. I thought kind like at the beginning of the date and up through it, I was like, okay, this is going well, you know, but then what it was is it went so good and he could taste it in his mouth, the victory, you know what I mean? That he started to freak himself out and he's like, man, I need to know right now, is she going to pick me? Yeah. That's what it came down to. And like we were saying, he wanted to hear her actually say it in those words. I am going to pick you. Which is completely unrealistic and bullshit, dude. He knew the game before he
exactly. So here's the thing. Here's the argument I've been seeing is where a lot of people are saying like, this is a show. You signed up for the reality TV show. Watch the show. And I've been saying it. Like, should contestants watch the show and know what they're going in for, or should they go in blind? I fully believe from this point on, I'm tired of seeing these freaking contestants who get to number one, not knowing what the show's about, and then freaking the fuck out when it doesn't go their way. Like, watch the show. She can't tell you that she's in love with you. And the fact that later he was freaking out to her, like, it's not about the rose, it's not about being your number one. How can you, I don't care, I don't want to be a list. Like, she is telling you in Bachelor lingo the way that she can, because it's a TV show, that you are the winner. Like, she is telling you that she is picking you. She can't come out and say it because she could get in trouble. Like, she's still trying to make a TV show. She can't. And so that's where I said earlier, like, Luke P has said, back on Hannah Brown's, has said that he was naive in the sense that he always thought Hannah was going to just quit the show for him. And that's how I feel like Greg got to the point where Greg is like, I don't understand why Katie won't just walk away with me. Like, why can't we just quit the show now? He didn't come out and say it, but that's how because, I mean, he did. He said to Katie, like, I just don't understand how you don't see it's me and you. And it's like,
you know, and that's what I was saying. Like, in his mind, unless she comes out and says it, there is still that possibility he's going to end up not being it. You know what I mean? And that was scaring the shit out of him. And
which I understand.
Crazy. Yeah.
I get that.
To feel that way, but to act that way.
But it's a TV show.
Time they talked, like when she went and found him, like, dude, he was extremely rude and disrespectful to her, dude. It was bullshit. It pissed me off. He was the one with the problem. He was the one wanting to break the rules of the game that's been around for over 20 years. Yet he's making her out as if she's untrustworthy. She's a bad person. I don't know who you are. I guess I never... Dude, I know from, like, men, that doesn't affect men as much. Like, it does on some level. But I know from personal experience of having been the giver of that kind of information to a female, that shit fucks them up, man. And I feel terrible the one time I did that. I learned from that. But, you know, I took my insecurities and my issues and I projected them on her, like, you know, and maybe that's why I'm so pissed about it, because it reminded me of myself in that moment. I use words like that's disgusting and gross and you this, you that. And I, through the days and the following weeks, dude, I saw the effect that shit had on her. It wasn't regular breakup, sad, I'm not with. It was like some emotion, like I did emotional damage to her.
Yeah.
And that this shit ain't right, man. And if he hasn't learned from that, was like, I was like 18, 19, 20 years old.
If this man's like 28 or something.
Yeah,
like
he's almost 30 and he hasn't learned that yet. But then that goes back also, like you said, he needs to talk to someone because it's probably not just issues with his dad. There's probably some other stuff there too. And it all comes together. You know what I mean? But
it felt like Greg has always gotten the girl and has never been rejected in his life. And he just was like super insecure and like took that out on Katie. And like, yeah, so I understand. So we have the first segment when they're still in their hometown, and I see a lot of people this is where people are backing Greg up, where he says, you fill a hole in my heart, I'm in love with you, whatever, who cares? And she just kind of she looks at him, she doesn't say anything, but again, we know that she has said that she's not saying anything, like she's not going to say it back. And she like, you can tell she's getting emotional. Like what the clip that we saw, it wasn't like she was just staring at him. She was tearing up. She was getting emotional. And there was this pause and Greg goes, what? And she goes, I just like looking at you. And that is what the argument that Greg stands are being like, oh, she just said, I like your face. I like looking at your hand. I'm like, she said, I like looking at you after a pause. It wasn't immediate. It wasn't like Greg said, I love you, and she said, I love your face. And that's the arguments I've been seeing, which I'm like, that's not what happened. Like, right. There was a pause. There's probably editing. We don't know. And Greg completely shuts down. She's like, what's wrong? Are you okay? Like, trying to talk to him. And he's like, what do you mean? What do you, like, she's like, you just got really, like, quiet. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, this man needs to learn how to communicate. You're like 30, like you don't know how to communicate and express yourself without accusing her of things. And then we get her in the car and it's like awkward. And then he goes and talks to her. And that's where, when he has his discussion with her, that's where I was like, no, this is not okay. The way he's talking to her it's not okay. And I think a lot of people, I'm sitting there saying, like, this is super manipulative. A lot of people are saying he's gaslighting. I think we tend to think of gaslight. That's the hot word that everyone likes to use. But I think we tend to think of that as, like, yelling and screaming. But it doesn't have to be. Like, just the fact that she was trying to not even defend herself. Like, she was saying, you're right, Greg. Maybe I misinterpreted it wrong. Maybe I didn't respond the right way. I'm so sorry. Like, and she was really sincere, and he just kept saying, like, you don't get it. You don't understand, Katie. My feelings are hurt. And it's like, what are you, what? Like, it was just, no, you could tell, like, he did not care about her in that moment. Like, he did not care about her feelings. He did not care about anything. Like, he didn't want to try and make a relationship. And like you said, when she chased after him and gave him a hug and was on her knees, and she's like, what do you want me to do? Like, what can I do to prove to you? And he was like, she said, I have given you the most reassurance out of everyone. I've told you multiple times that if you leave, I am leaving. Like, what can I give to you? And he said, honestly, like, you haven't given me enough. You haven't, I forget exactly what he said. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand how you can just, she's like trying to ask you and crying and trying to understand where it went wrong. And you're just saying, like, you don't get it, Katie. Like, it's not about the rose. It's not about me being your number one and like getting mad at her and throwing all this stuff back in her face. And that's where I'm kind of like, why didn't you watch the show? Like, you have to think, yes, I understand Greg is saying, like, it's not about that. If it's real, if it's not real, then it's not real. Like, there's real feelings. I get that. It is a real person's life. But at the same time, like, this is a reality dating TV show. You signed up to go through this, to do the hometowns and the fantasy suites and do all these things. You can't get mad at the lead when she's trying to follow through with the show and not giving you what you need, not giving you a realistic relationship. And because it's not a realistic relationship. And I see a lot of people saying like, well, Greg is justified in what he's saying about the show, and it's like, no, he's not. He's just frankly not. Like, he shouldn't have gone on the show. Like, if you're looking for a real relationship or a normal relationship, don't expect to find it on The Bachelor. Like,
right. And what would the narrative be if she would have told him, I'm going to pick you, just ride this out, everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when this airs, we see that, and then everyone's going to be like, well, dude, she totally led those other two guys on.
Exactly.
Emotions, how dare you put them through that? And it's like, dude, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.